Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Be a Nurse They Said. My name is Lainey and I'm so happy that you're here. Before we get started, if you have not gotten a chance yet to hit that subscribe button, be sure to do that so you can stay up to date on all my content and see all my videos and shorts that I'm posting. Today we're going to talk about how to handle rapid responses, especially your first one. First, let's talk about when to call a rapid response. It could be a patient that has symptomatic AFib. It could be a patient that had a fall. They have symptomatic vital sign changes. They could have a change in a level of consciousness. They could have seizure-like activity. They could have some sort of uncontrolled bleeding going on post-surgery. They could have a threatened airway. Any of these things warrant a call of a rapid response. Anything that gets your nursey spidey senses tingling that something just is not right with your patient, it's okay to call a rapid response, and you should, because it's better to be safe than sorry and call one and have everyone come that needs to be there so you can get the right help than to not call one and unfortunately have your patient decline further. So let's talk about who's going to show up to a rapid response. Basically everybody, right? So the bedside nurse is obviously going to be there who's taking care of the patient. The charge nurse is going to be there. This person is usually the note taker or the timekeeper. An ICU nurse is going to show up. They're going to be the one administering the medications and working the defibrillator. You're going to have some sort of nursing aide, most likely, if you have them at your institution. They are usually runners. They can help get vitals, an EKG, a glucose check. There's obviously going to be a provider. They are normally going to be the lead of the rapid response. The bedside nurse is going to be giving report to the provider. That way he or she can make judgment calls and place orders and whatever the patient needs based on what's going on. Respiratory is going to show up just in case the patient needs an ABG or any sort of respiratory support. They can do bagging if they need to. If it escalates to a code blue situation, anesthesia will show up and they will obviously intubate the patient. Phlebotomy is going to show up because 9 times out of 10, the doctor is going to want the patient to have some sort of lab work drawn, so they're there for rapid results of that. The house supervisor, who is usually a nurse, is going to show up. They kind of are there to offer support and help in any way that you need. The chaplain will show up. They are there obviously for spiritual support, especially if there are family members or friends in the room who are there and need support during this time, because it can be very overwhelming for the family because a lot of people show up and it can seem very overwhelming for them. So it's important to have some sort of support for them. Lastly, security, if it is at a code blue, will show up because they may need to shut down the elevators in case we need to rapidly get that patient somewhere else. So what should always happen during a rapid response? Well, first of all, the patient should obviously always be assessed by the bedside nurse, who probably did it beforehand and noticed the change, and then by the provider when they come in. So the patient needs to always be assessed. Vital signs always need to be taken. We need to get a baseline vitals of where the patient started and how they are throughout the whole rapid response. So we're going to be getting frequent vital signs during this event. We should always be getting an EKG and a finger stick glucose, even if it's not related to that at all, whatever you called the rapid response for. We should always be getting those two things as well, just to have a baseline and just to see if this could be contributing to what the patient is going through. And then obviously after assessing, the nurse is going to provide report to the provider. This is going to be done in an SBAR format, so we're obviously going to want to give them the situation. We're going to want to tell them why the patient's here, what's going on, what led up to this event, and why did we call the rapid response. Background, what does the patient's past medical history look like, what were their lab values, all that kind of stuff. Background of the patient that could have contributed to what's going on now. Assessment, what did you as the nurse assess? What led you to call the rapid response and get all of the team members there? And then recommendations, what did you try? What do you think we should try for this patient? We obviously also want to tell the provider any medications that the patient got recently, even the previous day, just in case it could have contributed to something that's going on now. They need to be aware of any allergies and they need to be aware of their code status. So even if it's just a rapid response and not a code blue yet, the code card should always show up to a rapid response. So let's talk about what should be on the code card at all times. First off, obviously the defibrillator and the patches. There will be medications in the code card. The ICU nurse will be in charge of administering these if needed. There's always portable suction and suction tubing just in case we need that. A full oxygen tank should always be present on the code card. A sharps container is always present. An ambu bag or a BVM should also be on there in case there is a threatened airway. There should be a backboard on the code card just in case it does escalate to a code blue and you need to do CPR. However, until this shows up, you can use the headboard of the bed. It will pop right out. You can slide that under your patient and start your compressions. And then a C-spine collar and a backboard with straps should always be there just in case for some reason there is a fall, just say, and someone has a possible injury or a neck injury or a head injury. We're going to want that C-spine present. What are the next steps after a rapid response? So either one, we're going to stabilize our patient and they're going to stay at the same level of care. Two, they may have to be escalated. So if they're on a med-surg unit, they may have to escalate to the intermediate unit or the ICU. Three, that rapid response could possibly turn into a code blue situation depending on what's going on with your patient. And then there should obviously also be family communication. Whoever that patient's contact is, we're going to want to get in the chart, get their number, get in contact with them and see what they want done and give them an update on what's happening. What happens after it's done? Obviously, we want to document. If it wasn't documented, then it wasn't done. So we want to make sure all that documentation is done for the rapid response. This is why it's very important to have a timekeeper and someone keeping notes because they need to keep track of what time it started, who showed up, when they showed up, vital signs, when they were done, any doctor's orders that weren't put on the computer right away. And then when it's all over, a debrief should happen. You should talk about what went well, what could have gone better, and any feedback from the team that they might have. The most important thing to remember during a rapid response is to stay calm. And this can be very hard to do when there are 20 people showing up into one room, possibly a room that has a roommate. It can get very cramped, it can get very crowded and very loud and very overwhelming. So it's very important to stay calm. If someone doesn't need to be in the room, it's okay to ask them to step out into the hallway just so we can all easily get to the patient if we so need to. It's very important to know your role and your responsibilities. Normally the team lead, which is a lot of times the provider, will tell you what your role is and what your responsibilities are during that rapid response or code blue if it escalates to that. So you need to make sure that you know your role and you know your limitations and what you can do and what you shouldn't do. It is a team effort. Everybody is important. Everybody has a very specific and important role, and it's important to appreciate that. And then lastly, closed loop communication is super important. If you leave it open, then there's a lot of room for questioning. And if it's closed loop, I want you to repeat back to me. Repeat back what you were told to do. That way it is closed and there's no room for questioning and you do exactly what you're supposed to do. It can be very scary the first couple of times that you have to do a rapid response for your patient, but you will get used to it and it does get a little bit easier. Every situation and every patient is totally different. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. Not one rapid response is going to be the same as the next. Just know that you do have help and you're calling for help and everybody knows their role and has a role. Just being prepared is the best thing you can do. If you're unsure what to do and you just have a bad feeling that something is wrong with your patient, just ask for help. Just call a rapid response. People will show up, the patient will get the care that they need, and you're most likely going to have better outcomes. I hope this video was helpful and it gave you a few tips on how to handle your first couple rapid responses a little bit easier and put your mind a little more at ease about rapid responses. Like I said, I know they can be scary, but it does get easier and you just have to be prepared on what could happen next. So I thank you for joining another episode of Be a Nurse, They Said. Please be sure to like and comment on this video, subscribe to my channel. Be sure to check out my Instagram page and my TikTok account, Be a Nurse, They Said. Follow those to find out when I'm posting more videos, posting shorts, and staying up to date on all of my content. Remember, don't just be a nurse, be amazing like I know you are, and I'll see you next time.